Welcome back, everybody. We just saw Midnight Anthem take down Press Tab in Group 3. Here we are going to jump back to Group 2, and we've got a really good one for you here. We've got Dirty Lake and the boys. A tiny bit of an underperformance yesterday because of Lauber not having any sort of power over there in Toronto, but back at full force today, going to get up against Flowstate, who ended yesterday as our second-placed team, the highest in this group. The winner of this qualifies for our main event on April 20th. Loser of this is going to have to win one more game in order to qualify. But what are you expecting to see from both of these teams, Mugi?
Well, to be fair, I do expect Dirty Lake and the boys to pull like the same performance as they done in the match we've seen right before. First match of the day. And on the side of Flowstate, I didn't get the chance to catch them, but like I remember like a lot of their players come like from Deja Vu, and they were like previous PCC 6. It was like their first event, and they keep impressing me because they just like progress so fast. Recently also Simba moved from mid lane to the jungle role, and like 2 weeks ago I remember Simba was struggling with 50 CS, like 5 CS per 10 minutes, and now suddenly like he's just amazing at the role. He has improved so much in the past 2 weeks, so I can't wait to see like how they are going to fare against like a veteran like Dirty Lake and the boys, and kind of like the new squad that just arrived and keep getting better and better. And it's definitely going to be a clash of titan.
I think so too. Joe, I know that you had a lot of interest in the jungle matchup that we're going to have here, and kind of the way that they pick their heroes and who they decide to prioritize. DLAB has been really playing through North, and Simba's been a good addition to Flowstate. What do you see coming here?
Yeah, it seems like for Dirty Lake and the boys, some of the main win conditions is just North popping off on his carry picks, especially the Kalai, and I think it's pretty obvious at this point that North can pilot the Kalai super well, so I'm almost expecting that Flowstate wants to ban out the Kalai, because Simba's not really a Kalai player. He can play like the Chimera, the Victor Rampage quite well, but not really the Kalai, because it's very hit or miss for the kind of jungle players we have. So I think if you can take away the Kalai from Dirty Lake and the boys and leave North on a more kind of traditional like jungler pick, I think that gives Simba more room to contest on North on even grounds.
I think so too. I think another pick that we need to look at as we are going into this draft, we've seen Dirty Lake and the boys pick up Drongo within the first rotation or two every single game. We've got some hero stats for Drongo here. Played in 49. How many games did we have yesterday again, Mugi?
51. So almost every
51.
single match like Drongo has made an appearance either as a pick or a ban.
Perfect. Yeah, you see 84.3% pick, 11% ban. Only 2 games he wasn't picked in. 60% win rate. Maybe DLAB had a little bit of inside information, could feel how strong this hero is, and that is why they're prioritizing the way that they are getting him over onto Lakeinator. So watch for Drongo to be one of the first teams picked. Once again, I want to reiterate, the winner of this game does qualify for our main event on April 20th. Loser has to get through one more game in order to make it. So this one is big. You either get done with it, your day is over, you get to sit back, relax, and prepare for who your quarterfinal opponent is going to be, or you got to get sweaty one more time. You got to get into it, fight for your life one final time. So we got to get this draft going. We got to see who's going to be the first team to qualify on camera here today. And it looks like the bans and picks should be coming in shortly.
And I assume in terms of ban, we're looking at, I assume probably like Argus from one of those two teams. And then like probably like where Joey was mentioning, maybe a Kalari actually like from the side of Flowstate, because we see they probably like first ban, first pick if they're on the left side of our screen, which means that they can like afford to let the Argus open in a sense. So that could be like something they want to remove. They don't want to have to deal with. North is an absolute monster on that. Is also like playing against a Kalari when you are not like super proficient, like your communication is not as wonderful as it can be. And here we see the Kalari is being banned immediately. Like Kalari can be dealt with, but that requires a huge amount of synergy. And maybe a team as recent as Flowstate that still like don't have like those many months of playing together, don't really want to take the risk and deal with it.
Yeah, because like I said, Mugi, not only have the coordination to shut off the Kalai, but you almost have to build a team comp that can shut down the Kalai, and that can be pretty limiting if you have to deal with that like limitations on how you want to drop that out. So honestly, banning the Kalari so you have more flexibility in team guns, but also take away such a power hero from North on DLAB is also a super smart move. I'm very curious to see what DLAB would be banning right here. Maybe they'd also answer with their own player-specific ban on Flowstate right here, because as much as the Argus and the Rampage and the Quan's like been such a huge performance in this kind of tournament, at the same time, if you can remove like some of the main winning conditions on the other team, you should definitely go for that too. And we see right here the Bellica ban coming through. Like Bellica has been like a very high priority pick, but not really a ban at all. So kind of seems like they want to ban that flex pick from Flowstate, so they don't have that Bellica to play around.
And that's also like another thing I just like realized, like it's a 7th game of Dirty Like and the Boys, and that's the 7th time that they are second pick. So I don't know if they're winning every single coin toss and they decide like to go second all the time, or it's maybe that other team actually like love the first ban, while like we have a little bit of action on the side of Lens. We said the doggy, but yeah. So I don't know if they just like really like that part, or if they just like, and all the team prefer first pick and they have like really like their solution set up for them. But another thing I kind of like is we can see like in previous events sometimes there was like one pick that was clearly like above the top and all the teams were kind of forced to ban it, and here I feel like we have a lot of strong pick which kind of opens up those ban. And usually when we were getting into those drafts it was very easy to say like, okay, that's gonna be the ban, but now it's kind of open and we see Flowstate deciding to snack pick the Argus, which is like we have said before, many teams consider that Argus is utterly broken. Other teams kind of realize that he has maybe like some weaknesses and that you can actually exploit weaknesses. So let's see if actually Dirty Like and the Boys is one of those teams that actually managed to figure out a little bit the Argus, or is Flowstate, thanks to the Argus, is going to be able to get like a huge control of that game.
Yeah, I really like the Argus pick right here from Flowstate, because one of the weaknesses of Argus going to mid lane especially is the Bellicas, and we saw DLAB banning out the Bellicas, so Flowstate, wait a minute, we can just pick Argus mid and we don't have to worry about that Bellica just one-shotting with the ultimate. So almost maybe a slight mistake on DLAB, not realizing that the one of the main heroes to shut down Argus mid is Bellica. So actually a really great pickup by Flowstate for that Argus, but he can always be still flexed in the support role depending on the matchups we can see. And yep, as DLAB has shown time and time again, they love the jungle and the first kind of pick, so the pickup right there along with the Saris, it's going to be a great flex in the off lane, just being able to win almost any matchup. Also good in the jungle too if they want to flex him in there instead.
And I remember like Dirty Like and the Boys against Indecisive yesterday picking the jungle Zarus first, and yeah, they have like that pocket Zarus support for Toasty. So this Zarus is like can really be jungle, offlane, or support, and you never know until the end of the draft. So I guess that's one of the reasons they love that Zarus pick for themselves, because it's really like a flex pick. On the side of Flowstate, I would assume like maybe here we're gonna try to secure like one of the jungler we want. Here all the jungler are open for Simba. They have access to the Rampage, they have access to the camera, they do have access to the Rictor, like everything is completely open. And then maybe the Argus can still be flex on the support or the mid lane, but actually you're going to secure like Rictor Decker. 3 character, when you combine Argus, which has a stun, plus like the pull, plus the slow on the ultimate, a Replash, plus a Skewer, plus a Silence, plus a Decker stun, plus a Decker second stun, plus a Cage, like it feels like Flowstate said, okay, you let open like all those heavy CC character, we're gonna play a comp that makes you hate your life about playing the game because you don't get to play the game, it seems.
Yeah, we're already kind of starting to see these different like game strategies coming into play. DLAB going for the more flexible picks, so they have more options, while Flowstate is hard locking in with the Argus Rictor Decker, because that's most definitely a Decker support. Rictor can still maybe be flexed between jungle and offlane, but that's definitely an Argus mid if you have a Decker already locked in with there. So Flowstate just saying that, hey, we're going to pick all the CC, you know where we're going, but that's still not going to stop us from just making one life miserable on DLAB's side right there. So I almost want to see if DLAB still kills like a jungle pick right here. Chimera is actually a great option because you have that self cleanse, so it's actually one of the better junglers to go into the Argus with the Decker, because he can at least self cleanse that one CC, but if the 5 other CC afterwards, he cannot like deal with that much.
And indeed, and here I feel like maybe like one ban that we can maybe look for on the side of Flowstate is Narbash, because To be fair, like it's very hard to play into like the Rictor, but it's a Decker support already being selected, and Narbash fare very well into the Decker because Decker can be aggressive, but it's very easy to be safe. Not a lot of damage coming from the Decker, so you can sustain, and suddenly like your Chimera plus Zarus, plus all this passive healing when you get CC, like makes suddenly your frontline that will get deleted by any form of CC survive a long time, and you already have like this kind of like 2 Bruiser plus Narbash plus double backline carry comp that can like really work well, and I think that's something that maybe Flowstate want to avoid because that could be like actually dangerous for the type of gameplay they're trying to go. But I decided to remove the Sevrok. We all know Lobber from being like a very, very scary Sevrok. And here also like that means that they respect the fact that Toasty can go on the Zarus support because Sevrok is definitely like a targeted ban for the offlane. And so they consider that the Zarus is not the offlaner for now. So Flowstate decided to play like it a little bit like more risk-free by removing like this very strong pick from Lobber and maybe like forcing Dirty Lake and the boys to reassess a little bit their plan with this Zarus in offlane because now we're more limited on this offlane pool.
Yeah, I really like this Sewa ban right there because DLAB really wants to kind of lock in the more frontline. I know the Chimera and Sailors are great kind of frontliners for the most part, but it doesn't hurt to like grab another one if that's a Sailors support flex right there. But what Flowstate really lacks is kind of like the high consistent damage. They have the Argus kind of locked in right there, but they really want to lock in like another source damage source, so like maybe if that's a way to offlane, they can try and get something in the jungle. But I see DLABing banning out the Quan and then picking up the game. It's very like a kind of DLAB team comp right here. They have great utility, frontlining, dive potential, and then the game that can fall all the way up right there. So it's going to be like the Argus and Gideon mid. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see how that kind of would turn out right there.
And it's very interesting because like the DLAB team composition is almost exactly like so far it's exactly the same as we have seen Midnight Anthem play the previous match. Like we have like 4 characters that are exactly the same, trying to look like for this very like divey type of composition that also like offer like pretty good objective control thanks to the camera, but also like a lot of lane control because like Gideon can clear wave super fast. Drongo, like why is he prioritized so highly? Because he's very strong at fighting, he's very strong at clearing wave, he's very strong at objective control thanks to the gag grenade and the amount of damage he's dishing on objective, so it kind of offer a lot of things. And here once again we're gonna see like the Kira into the Drongo. I know Joey, you are a super fan of that matchup, and also like the Greystone being secure, so we kind of tuned down a little bit on the CC aspect and decided to bring like a little bit more beef, a little bit more damage because we already have enough lockdown.
Yeah, I guess to be fair, Flowstate have more than enough CC right there, so I think the Greystone is a great pick because he can be like the main source damage stealer. He can just do so much damage in the backlines if he gets on top of them. So it was going to come down for Flowstate trying to get the nice CC on the backlines and then just having to follow up by the Greystone or even Kira, which once again I'm not sure why people would love to keep picking Kira against Drongo. I really don't like that matchup, but again I guess they really like the one more combo that Kira can maybe bring to the table. Imagine like someone can CT locked down and then you have a kill ultimate just kind of like willing away on that target right there. So again, Flowstate looking to do like the one more combo strategy, but DLAB also looking like they have a very good like flexibility all around. They have some one more combos, but also I think they have some great durability and damage on all the kills. But seeing the phase pick right here, which we don't really see that often. The only time we really see phase is when Professor's banning it on the first round of every single game. But it almost seemed like but that's actually such a great pickup because against all the CC with Richter, Decker, and Argus, you kind of look at your Drongo and be like, hey, let me pick this phase, let me protect you more so you're feeling a little bit safer. Or even if it's not the jungle the phase is going to be attached to, it's going to be the Chimera, and a phase Chimera duo is like a very deadly combo in those mid to late game team fights.
It is. So the big question I have looking at this draft, how is this Gideon going to ult? Is there any way he can portal in and use this? Mugi, what's the strategy here for DLAB?
Well, I feel like it depends on what you're going to use your Gideon. Of course, you can go for a more like bruisery type of build, but I feel like you might end up like lacking maybe a bit of magical damage if you go into that route. So I'm not sure the Gideon can afford that, but you still already have the Camera and Zarus to create like a lot of chaos. So you're not a primary engage. You have to wait for the chaos to start like scare the enemy team, and then so you can find some ultimate and probably try to ult through walls, because these black hole actually like damage and pull people through the walls, and so you have to find like some angles that is harder for you to get CC by.
It is interesting. Joe, do you have any closing thoughts before we kick it over to our casters for this?
No, other than I think the win condition of DLAB is just protecting the backline with the Gideon jungle. Like, they have the phase. The phase's main primary job is to protect the backline or even empowering the frontline with the Chimera. So all eyes, I feel like, is going to be on the phase and how she can enable DLAB's team comp right here.
I think so too. So this will be the last time we see one of these teams today. Once again, one will be qualifying. We'll have to watch the other one again in a fight for their lives. But to get us into the game, we're going to kick it over to the legendary duo of Ego and Falcon.
Gamers, welcome in to PCC7. We got DLAB cooking up against Flowstate. It's going to be your boy Ego here rocking with you, but never rocking alone. Alongside, I got the man, the myth, the legend, seeing the game from a different perspective. It's going to be my boy Falcon. Man, how are we doing today? Are you excited?
I am very excited. We're going to have two very, very good teams. We haven't really seen that much of Flowstate recently this weekend, but we have seen a lot of DLAB already today. And I actually really like both of these team comps. They do different things. Flowstate are looking for those engages, whereas DLAB is looking for that disengage. And it's going to be really a game of cat and mouse, especially for Toasty, who is going to be your primary member to try and keep Lakenator alive.
100%, man. And, you know, looking at that draft throughout alongside the expert members of the desk team, there's a singular letter that kept popping into my head. It was C. And at this point, I do not know if the Flowstate lads know what any letters are past it, because they have C, C, C stacking on this team in between this Richter pick, Argus, as well as some of the early aggression that Decker is going to be able to provide to this composition. Do you think that this is going to be pertinent and them maybe getting a little bit of early game momentum even during a little bit of the farming phase of the game here, Falcon?
Honestly, like, looking at the comp, yes, there is tons of CC, but when you actually look at lane matchups, it isn't as simple as that. DLAB with Avid Picker is going to have control over that mid lane. Bri is going to have time to stack up. He's going to have to get those levels, make sure that he can get that particle shredder online and get those mana items so he can actually be useful in these team fights. And if you look at the dual lane, yes, you have the Decker, you have the Richter combo for the ganks, but Jay is playing that Kira, who is going to be in trouble against this Drongo. They can't ult at all. They're not going to have the wave clear to deal with Lakenator. And Toasty is going to have a pretty good time just dealing with it. As I say that, though, they get the first damage onto Lakenator already.
Yes, sir. And, you know, this is a team that very much so knows how to handle aggression and respond in kind with their own DLAB, a combination of famous players here within the PCC or just the competitive scene in general. We know what Appy Picker, North, and Lauber especially are all capable of. And now it really does come down to the execution. But standing across from them, Flowstate knows what they're capable of just as much as we do. Now, we're going to be looking to maybe counterplay into some of these engagements that they've become notorious for a lot of the time, playing through their junglers such as North Falcon.
Yeah, but Simba's not bad either, and overall, it is going to be a interesting setup. I think North definitely has the advantage playing the Chimera against the Richter. He can do a lot of damage against him, and will have a faster wave clear. I mean, you already can see him going for the invade, but he's going to meet Simba.
Yes, sir. As now Simba's going to be put onto the back foot, but North is going to be looking for more. We do see back foot coming from off the side here. It's going to be Gucci looking to create a little bit of space, and the body block is actually going to force out the blink. It's going to have to be an abandonment of the mission, as North is actually going to be the first one to go down, but the smoke is not quite over yet, as we do see Jay pivoting onto the back foot. Simba, maybe a risky exchange, but he does get the whiplash, and it's going to be enough to rip through the HP of not one, but another, and a third member of this composition. It's going to be DLAB, who is going to be getting a little bit cooked here within the early phases of the game. A great play coming from Flowstate, who seemed to be in the zone.
Guys, we're 3 minutes into the game. Come on, just have a chance to breathe. That, I mean, I love how North did go for the invade. He has got that advantage against Richter. We saw how strong it is. But Simba was able to link up with the dual lane. Jay managed to get those max stacks, that vengeance. on to North and completely blew him up. And with the basically exactly the same time the blinks coming out of both junglers, it did lead to the first blood. And then from there, it just felt like a bit disconnected from DLAB. The mid laner, Picker, was not in a correct position. I was able to connect up with Grussy as well, and the 3 kills are going to be a great lead for the side of Flowstate in this early game. Though nothing is definitely bad yet for the side of DLAB. They can still come back into it. Early game advantage, that's definitely for Flowstate at this point.
100% here, man. Flowstate definitely finding a flow here, but not anything subtle. They're like a Russian river, getting a little bit of a rundown with the damage. And I just keep thinking back to this moment, how confident, how trusting of your team do you have to be the Richter within this situation, just getting a little bit of that shielding coming off of that passive from not taking damage for an allotment of time, and then being like, you know, I think I whiplash you into me with maybe 50, 60 HP. I am confident my team is going to be able to lock you up, and they did not only do that, they locked them down as now over into the solo lane, and we're going to see a little bit of action. It's going to be a leap as well as that forced blink now being expended out of the solo laner for Flowstate Falcon.
North only had to show his face to make Blink go out, so that is going to be a good advantage for the side of Lorber. That means once he gets that level 6, unless Peak has got Assault Gates, he is going to be stuck within that Colosseum, making a early game 1v1 kill a lot easier for the side of DLAB. So it's not looking all too bad, and now with Fangtooth on the board, we have to see if either team wants to look for it in the early game. But looking at these duo lanes, I don't really expect it. Both of them do want to farm up. Jay is going to be playing that Kira, who, never mind, is going to immediately start the Fangtooth.
Oh man, they are looking to make these dinos go extinct. This is a squad that is more than proficient at being able to lock down the space around these neutral objectives, as we do see Toasty as well as Lakeinator aren't even going to bother rotating, as this looks like it may be a free neutral objective with the burn through, and that it will be, as the first Fangtooth is actually going to swing over to the Royal side team with the Flowstate. Now a fight is being picked here, however a disengage does look like it is going to be able to go through, as over into the solo lane we're going to see a little bit of a fight back up. North backing up Lobber into the solo, and we know that Blink is not going to be available. However, we do have the flower that is going to be up, and will that distance was made going to be enough? And it looks like it may be, as Lobber has to abandon the kill, Falcon.
North had to go for a gank there. Peak was pushed up far enough, but Simba's going to get a return gank onto Toasty. Whiplash is going to come through. That is an easy kill for Jay. Lakeinator is stuck in the cage, but against the two of the duo lane from Flowstate, he should be able to walk away quite easily. There's nothing left for, well, they've run out of CC at that stage of the game. So again, just another win for Flowstate in this early game. Picker is coming over though, and he has got that black hole.
Yes, sir. Ultimate is going to be up. Jay doesn't seem to be too aware of the rotation, but he is now, as he's going to be taking a little bit of damage. We do see Simba. What? The Rip Lash is going to be offline, and it's going to give Picker the space he needs in order to disengage and maybe make a rotation back to his mid lane, as Toasty is going to be rejoining his carry within the dual side here. Falcon, a lot of action here, pumping out early. These teams feel like they really came to fight. However, only one of them has been able to execute, as we see North once again making a rotation, but a big stun here coming out of Argus is actually going to lead to being another kill that is going to be able to go in favor of Flowstate. But at this moment it is going to be a 1-for-1, but soon to be made a 1-for-2, as it is going to be a 5-kill lead for Flowstate Falcon. They are going insane here within the early game.
I don't know why I knew that North was going to be there, but that rotation was perfectly timed. He used that chance for Picker in the dual lane to push in the wave and then make a rotation on his own. Peak did go down, yes, but you got 2 extra kills on the side of Vi, who is playing that Argus, who I have seen be an absolute monster in that mid to late game. And any sort of acceleration is going to be great for the side of Flowstate. This is basically a perfect early game for them, because we can't even forget they still took that early Fangtooth, and now they have a head mid laner, they have a head dual lane. I mean, DLAB need to do something in this game.
They definitely do. And, you know, earlier within this game, we were comparing the Flowstate, these gamers, these competitors, these victors in the past, to a river. You can cross it, but you gotta be wary of that current. But DLAB right now has found themselves underwater, and they're looking to get any form of value they're able to find. However, Lauber having a lot of pressure put on him as Simba is maybe looking to make another rotation, but showing a little bit of face is going to be enough for the solo laner of DLAB to disengage, reset, and maybe played a little bit safer. We have seen throughout this game so far just all the proactivity being within the hands of Flowstate, as now it looks like North is going to be looking to get active. The stun coming up big over the top end. It is going to be the black hole that does get expended, but no value is going to be derived from it, with the exception of taking the blink out of Argus' pocket. He's going to be a little bit more unsafe here, as within the solo lane, tanks are going to do what tanks do. It's going to be a little bit of a skirmish that is not going to result in too much pressure being given either way for Falcon.
I'm surprised that Cole hit from North. It looked like it was completely out of range, but that hit meant that the blink was burned from Y. At the same time, Apipiga also used that blink because he used that torn space into that river for a reason that I can't really figure out, I'll be honest. And with both mid laners losing their blink, that does give a chance for either side to Predecessor. But with Lauber continuing to have advantage in that solo lane, and by having to reset, they are going to start that mini fight up. The side of Flowstate is coming over though.
Yeah, man, it does not look like they want to give this up for free, as we're going to see the Greystone Peak in combination with Argus on this Bree, making their way over. The Coliseum is now going to drop down as Argus is going to be chased into the corner. Nonetheless, it is going to be DLAB who is going to be able to pick up the objective and maybe a life here. However, the first one that goes down is going to be Lauber, as Bree is going to be able to pick it up. Space created, though, from the Decker. It's going to be able to save them from the onslaught of CC and damage that has been coming out of either side there. Falcon, man, got to get a little bit of a breakdown of the back end of that team fight.
The ultimate from Lauber was good, but it meant that Simba was still in that. He could get towards the Orb Prime. But unfortunately for Simba, as he walked in, the Orb Prime did its knockback attack, and North was able to immune it using the Invigorate. But Simba was not, and at that point in time, the hunt was enough to kill it, so he did get that Orb Prime onto himself. They did lose Lauber in the back end, but for one death, or a mini prime, you are taking that every single time. But because he spent too long around that 5 camp, he's not going to be back in time for the second Fangtooth. And DLAB are nowhere for this.
Yeah, it does look like they're making a slow rotation over towards it, but capitalize the word slow there, as this is going to be an easy pickoff. However, North getting his way over. It's going to be able to utilize the blink to get a reposition over the top. Now, Appy Picker with the black hole, and you know, when things go in, they do not come out, because that is going to be 2 kills that's going to swing in favor of DLAB. Playing the space over to the side now. It is going to be Greystone utilizing the link in combination with his blink in order to possibly make it out, but in hot pursuit, it is going to be an ocean of blue, as DLAB are going to be looking for more, but looking they will not find Falcon. Nonetheless, we do see Flowstate once again pick up one of these neutral objectives in that Fangtooth back to back. They are just building up some of this advantage, and it looks like DLAB is just trying to respond.
Yeah, just a slow response going from the side of DLAB. They were nearly there. If they were maybe 10 seconds faster, they could have definitely contested it. North going for the blink and did get 2 kills. Y is going to go for just a kill on Appy Picker. He has got the ultimate, and it only took 1 shot. That Argus is online. He has 4 kills. Going back to that Fangtooth, I mean, they don't gain anything out of those 2 kills either, so Flowstate are still in a good position. They are on that Fangtooth point, because if they get that 3rd Fangtooth, that is their win condition at this stage of the game. And although DLAB, no, they're still in the game, they still have North, who is pretty ahead with this mini prime. That is not going to be up for this 3rd Fangtooth. So they are going to be doing this straight 5v5. And with Bride this ahead, I don't see that happening.
You know, we don't use Rennie here on the podcast, but I will say Argus does some damage. Take that as you will. As you said, it only took 1 shot, and he just absolutely eviscerated, eradicated, some would say, just removed him from the game. He's a deleted file at this point. So it is no surprise that we're going to see North looking to put a little bit of pressure onto the mid lane. However, Simba is going to be there to be able to catch him off with some CC, but the black hole does get expended, as we do see the skewer does only catch 1. Both mid laners are going to fall, but remaining is going to be both junglers. North in combination with Simba standing tall, and they're going to just be looking for a disengage after a little bit of a scramble. A little bit of CS does find its way into Simba's pocket. Nonetheless, it is going to be a 1-to-1 trade, it looks like, for Falcon at this point of the game, as we're making our way towards 14 minutes.
It's a 1-for-1 trade, but the shutdown goals you gain from killing Y is going to be immense. That's probably around 800 gold just from the shutdown for North. It would have been great if it went onto Appy, but either way, North can definitely use that money effectively come this next Fangtooth. And yeah, it's going to be hard. There's no real towers been taken either, so although there's been a lot of fighting, the only real objectives that have been taken was those 2 Fangtooths and that 1 mini prime. And it has been quite a slow game at this point of the time, just because there's a lot of scaling happening on both sides, especially for that Argus and for the Stronger. They do want to get at least 2 items online for this next Fangtooth, because that is definitely going to be... I mean, it's going to be the change of the game. If DLAB gets it, they can get back into it. If Flowstate secures it, they are 100% in the driver's seat.
Oh man, the driver's seat at this point, they're trying to push DLAB just straight up out of the car, as Lauber is going to catch the back end of a rotation here. Once again, Greystone going to chase him from the lower, while now Bry is going to be able to close some of the space on top, using some of that verticality to try to create some space for himself. Will be able to create a little, but what really scares off Lauber is actually going to just be the damage, as North now finds himself getting involved. It is going to be a retreat for Flowstate, with 2 members being able to get underneath the tower. However, I spot me an Appy Picker onto the back line of the tower in between that tier 1 and tier 2. Does translate a little bit of damage, but not enough to complete the black bar. But Lauber hits those, lobbing out the damage and finding himself a kill on the board. While over onto the back end, it is going to be Simba in the face with score, and the damage does throw him off of the cliff. Not coming up big, as Appy Picker also gets a kill. That's going to be a 2-0 smooth trade going in favor of DLAB here for Falcon.
You want to come back into this game? That's how you get back into the game. Lauber was a javelin user in that fight. He just managed to completely snipe away Peak, using that extra execute damage coming from his Spear of Near. Rye was able to survive by backing off, but Simba was just caught by the 2 members of DLAB there. They were just able to rotate. They got the first tower of the game as well in that mid lane, which is surprising considering how far Bry's ahead. And with the Fangtooth up in a minute, they are in complete control of this side of the map. North is going to completely remove all of the warding from Flowstate at this stage of the game. And the dual lane of Flowstate as well is pushed under tower. So this is going to be Flowstate walking into DLAB, and that is the perfect situation for them to be in.
Oh man, 100%. We haven't seen it yet within this game how earlier within the phase, let's say 1 or 2 Fangtooths ago, it was a very proactive Flowstate that allowed themselves to get that positioning. Now they are in a position where they're going to have to fight into it. And how are they going to be able to handle it? As we're going to see Labra as well as North jumping onto the backline. This is going to be Jay, who's getting oh so very low. However, fighting into it, it is now going to be Greystone, not taking 1 but 2 and 3 members onto the backline, forcing a back trot from multiple members of DLAB, with one of them now falling down. It does look like we're going to be seeing a rotation onto that 3rd Fangtooth, and you said it yourself a little bit earlier, the win con is to kill off the Dino, and that is exactly what they've been doing oh so very proficiently, as it looks like Appy Picker hopes to complete a miracle, but here there is no miracles, only advantage, and all that advantage in the pockets of Flowstate. Falcon, this team is on a rampage here as we're making our way to that 17-18 minute mark of this game.
He just made so much space for the side of Flowstate. Lauber got a good engage on the backline using the Colosseum, but Simba was in the way. Peak was able to come around the side and just walk down Appy Picker, Toasty, and Lakeinator. And he barely took any damage in that fight as well. So by the time he had to return back to his team, both Lakeinator and North was Lauber was dead. And I mean, well, Jungler, you are contesting a Fangtooth. They have gone through that 2nd extinction phase for the dinosaurs at this stage of the game. And now Mini Prime is also up, and you can see Simba, Jay, and Grizzly are all around here, but so is North. Then again, if he's on his own, the best he can do is a steal.
Yeah, man, and you know, that is a tall task to try to attempt to do here, as we are going to see F8 not even going to be contested for that mini prime here. Now maybe looking to spend a little bit of their money, as we do see it is going to be F8 Simba on this Richter pick, was going to have that prime buff for the time being. A very, very large part of what we have seen throughout this game has been that CC control, but also it can't be overstood, it can't be overstated, the damage that has been coming out of Argus on these backline to frontline divisions has been absolutely massive. Labra doing all he can in the face of some solid damage, may have a little bit of advantage here now that Riplash is off and North is making a rotation off the back end. Peak here, looking to peak some damage as it is going to be a commitment on to Simba. That prime buff is looking to go down, and with the skewer being a little bit offline, it is going to be relegated to a simple kill, a 3-on-1 that is going to exclusively give them some advantage here, Falcon. What do you think we're going to see them do with it?
I don't think they can do much with it. At most, they're going to take this solo tower in, the tier 1 tower in the solo lane. The more important thing is just getting the pick, making sure that the mini prime is off the map, because there is plenty of towers still for Flowstate to get. If anything, DLAB are ahead in that front. We have got 2 towers already. And with mid tower still up for side of DLAB as well, that means that they can control their jungle. That means Flowstate can't really do that much in terms of warding around there either. So they have still got a lot of consistency in the mid lane. Though with Bry being this far ahead, if there's any sort of 3-man grouping in the mid lane, they can probably easily bust it down. But I don't expect that to be anytime soon.
Yes, sir. As we do see, the map is a little bit spread out at this time being. These players enjoying the combat, I'm sure, but also knowing that they need to put some priority on getting this farm. And farming has been something that both sides have done relatively efficiently. For the neutral objective, the Flowstate Warriors have done it near perfectly, taking that first Fangtooth on spawn and soon after with the second, and successfully swinging the third off of a contention set up by DLAB here. I want to get into your headspace a little bit, Falcon. You do see this game a little bit differently, some would say, from the Falcon point of view. What do you think DLAB needs to do to be able to flip one of these team fights? Does Argus just need to go down? Do they need to prio Simba, then immediately look for a fight? What do we need to see DLAB do here?
Argus is definitely the priority. I think if North and Lorber can link up and get the kill onto Bry, that is going to put them in a good position. Lakenator is still pretty fed at this point. He hasn't got the most CS in the world. He's only got around 160. But if he gets stuck 2-3 items online, he can deal with the side of Simba and Peak. As we talked about that, Lorber is in danger, but he is going to blink out. North is also around, and they're going to re-engage.
Yes, sir. And the Coliseum is going to come up as they're going to be looking to put 2 members down from the Flowstate Warriors. The HP bars are dropping so very low, and the Limbo bar is going to cut them off at the neck as it is going to be a 2-0 trait that does go in favor of DLAB, who is cooking up now. Using some of that advantage, we are going to see a rotation over to the big prime buff. Right now, the Flowstate gamers are in a situation they were hoping to avoid. It is going to be 3, maybe hoping, praying to get a nab here. However, they have some advantage, and that is going to be Bry, the Eviscerator, the Obliterator. But it is not going to be enough for this instance, as the neutral objective is going to go over in favor of DLAB Falcon.
I mean, it's trying to get back into the game. That's one way of doing it. They killed the jungler, they killed the off-laner because of the rotation from the dual lane, which was perfect timing. The grad grenade from Lakenator meant that Peak could not go into a Stoneforge Soul, and that saved that teamfight so much. And as soon as Sir's dead, they couldn't really do anything. Primal Fangtooth is now also spawning, and all 5 members of DLAB are alive with that Orb Prime buff. And even with the 3 Fangtooths on the side of Flowstate, this is not necessarily a good fight for them to take, though it might be a required one, because a double barrel buff at 22 minutes into the game will make the inhibitors fall.
100%, as it is going to be North looking to make Jay fall, maybe overextending a little bit. It is going to be called out. It is going to be a deprecation that does come up in order to limit the space to some degree, as North goes and looks for the backline. Big skewer does get used, as now it is going to be Peak once again looking for the 1v3, but he is only going to be able to find a 1v2. It's not quite over yet, as Lauder is going to be looking to lob some damage. The Coliseum comes up as once again they look to knock Simba down, but with the blink expended, it is going to be the Flowstate gamers who are going to be able to create a little bit of space for themselves. But will it be enough? Because Lakenator is going to portal, blink, and Jay will survive, but only for a moment, as Appy Picker picks up not 1 but 2 kills for DLAB. They are cooking after a slow early and mid game. Falcon, this team feels like they're coming alive.
They are doing exactly what they need to do. North may be a bit too aggressive, but the blink on to Jay was enough to make sure Jay could not basically do anything in this fight. Bri also took a sizable amount of damage on the side of Lorber, and Peak was perfectly kited. He had to use his ultimate earlier, and then the Colosseum afterwards meant that he was completely locked down. There is no jungler for the side of DLAB, but neither is there for Flowstate, so this should be an easy primal thankfully for the side of Flowstate. And considering how delayed it is compared to the Orb Prime, they are going to have some time where the Orb Prime is going to run off, but the primal thankfully does stay. So again, fighting into this is not a good idea for Flowstate, and they have basically lost most of their lead. Another thing I do want to have a look at, because we haven't done it so far today, is have a look at the scoreboard, because I want to have a look at the CS between both teams if we are able to do that at any point, because I feel like both teams are farming quite well. Actually, as I say that, DLAB have 100 CS lead compared to the side of Flowstate. This is why I think that they are able to do this much, because although they were behind in kills, behind in objectives, they were still farming up, they were still getting those items. And at the end of the day, that is what makes you powerful in this game.
Yes, sir, 100%. I cannot agree more. You can do all the damage, you can get all the kills, you can even get a couple neutral objectives, but if that farming is not efficient, if there is a gap on the CS, well, the other team is always going to have an avenue to put themselves back into the game, and that's something that we have seen DLAB do throughout the entirety of not only this tournament, but their stretch here within the competitive scene. They are going to be able to lock themselves down some minions, as we are going to see Lakenator here looking for a reset, and Happy Picker looking to steal a little bit more of that gold, of that advantage, as it looks like they are going to just be looking with Primordial Flame to maybe reset and look for a pick before starting to make a play on a couple of these tier 2s or inhibitors that are going to be left up. Falcon, as we make it to this stage of the game, Flowstate has been hit with the Uno reverse card, and I would even say a +4, that hand size looking a little bit full. They find themselves in a seat where I was asking you about DLAB earlier. They now have to set up and execute, keyword being execute, a great defense who has, all for this team that has now just picked up so much momentum, Falcon.
Yeah, and they still haven't actually recalled and spent most of their gold, because they have gained so much from just taking these objectives. Flowstate still has tons to take on the map to actually gain this much gold, and DLAB, although the kills and the CS have got an advantage either way, it is these turrets that are going down which is causing the most of this gold advantage for DLAB at this stage of the game. What Flowstate really need to do is still just continue playing around Bri. Bri is still fed. There is no way against that. He is playing Argus. He is going to be able to kill the entirety of DLAB in a team fight. But if he isn't in the correct position, if DLAB can just jump on him and Flowstate aren't able to support him well, it doesn't matter. So that is what they need to do, and most likely the next team fight around the Orb Prime will decide on who wins this game.
It is going to decide who wins this game, but also who is going to be able to proceed into the finals, as whoever loses this matchup is going to have to continue sweating, work a little bit harder in order to keep the dream of making it to the final bracket alive. And right now, one thing that does need to be touched upon is the resiliency that we saw out of DLAB here within that earlier segment of the game, losing those large neutral camps in the Fangtooths, as well as falling behind, if I recall correctly, 5-1 on the kill board at one point within this game. They just continued to play their game, and now they're doing exactly what you said. They're kind of playing behind North, as well as some of their other engagers, such as this Arch, who's been expert at breaking up the team fight, as well as his FaZe, who may be an unsung hero of this match, being able to create separation for the absolutely fed Lakenator to be able to free cast the strongest spell in the game, and it's called Bullets, being able to share through some of this HP. But now Bri looking to get some damage off on North. He is going to be able to force out the Blink Falcon.
I don't think North needed a blink there. I do think he blinked because he didn't know where the rest of Flowstate was. If he got caught by multiple members, it might have been a disaster, and he cannot afford to die at this point. And yeah, I definitely agree with you. Toasty has been doing great this game. He has been able to keep the backline of DLAB alive, and I mean, FaZe does feel very underrated in the current sort of play, because DLAB has played it once. I believe Cess played it yesterday. Zihi went on against Indecisive. Professors refuse to play against it at any point in time because they always first ban it, and we are kind of seeing why. All Prime has now spawned as well. Primal Fangtooth is going to be up within 30 seconds, so there is a chance for teams to trade out those objectives. Of course, All Prime is great for sieging and those extra stats, but Primal Fangtooth has so much damage connected to it that any sort of team fight, they will just be able to win. And DLAB wants that. They want to be able to win these team fights. And it looks like Flowstate are going to concede it and go and try and do the objective of the All Prime. But they might be a bit late.
Yes, sir. Looking for a little bit of a one-to-one, a one-to-one trade per se. You can have that Primal Fangtooth, and we will take the Prime, but the rotation possibly a little bit behind. Nonetheless, they are going to be able to pick it up. 1 2 the Prime, 1 with that Primordial Blaze. Lobber is now going to be looking for a fight here as the Coliseum does come down, but the damage is not going to be there immediately to be able to follow it up. It is going to be a Black Hole that comes out of the Gideon. However, not getting one. It is going to be the backline and Simba on the front line, who's going to be the first one to go down, as it is going to be a combination of Bree as well as Decker, who are going to catch the bad side of North's dual axis. So much damage, and even more so much CC being able to split up the team fight utilizing that Coliseum. This is going to be 3 members down here, Falcon, and it is going to be DLAB who are looking for inhibitors.
They are definitely getting this inhibitor. I don't think they'll gain much more because of the way Stage Peak did a good job. But they don't care about the other inhibitors. They're just going to go for the end. There's 2 people alive on the side of Flowstate. It's not a massive minion wave. Fly has got good wave clear. So if he can get and deal with it, it's going to be good. But Lorba is just going to completely isolate him. Peak is also on the back line. The damage is going to go on to the core as long as possible. But the damage is enough from DLAB. They do not care about the rest of the map. They are going to take this game in a dominant fashion from that mid game. As soon as they got that All Prime, it was their game, and they are going to be in our main event in 2 weeks' time.
Yes, sir. Congratulations to the lads, Lakenator, Toasty, Epic North, the entire home, and being able to confirm their spot here within the finals in just 2 weeks' time. Falcon, you said it 1-1. You can have the early game because we're going to take the mid, we're going to take the late, and we're going to take the win, and we're going to take our spot. In 2 weeks, we're going to see them progress. Wow, we may see Flowstate, but they're going to have to work a little harder for it. Falcon, an amazing game for them, and congratulations and thanks to both of these teams.
Yeah, I mean, Flowstate did play well in that early game. They got ahead. They did what they needed to do. But it was some overextensions getting picked in that mid game, especially for Simba and Peak around that All Prime did lead that to eventually fall. And although Bry was fed, he just wasn't able to take part in these team fights. Of course, they are going to be able to play in the lower bracket finals for the final spot from the groups. And I mean, I really want to see what the desk thinks of that game, because DLAB, they played from behind and they played it beautifully. So I'll see what they can say on the desk.
The main thing I want to say, Falcon, never give up, never surrender. Even when fighting from behind, we've seen DLAB have a bunch of very good defenses in previous PCCs. There was one seeding round, they had gotten behind Team Rogue. They were down like super hard early. They ended up being able to come in, defend that. We see a repeat of that, and why DLAB has one of the reputations of the best late game defensive teams in it. Mugi, what's your takeaway from what we just saw and DLAB being our first team to qualify?
Well, like Flowstate was like playing super well. The early game was super clean, but as a team, when you're facing a team that starts to steamroll you, you just have to still do what you can, which is basically keep your CS up, try to trade some stuff on the map, and your goal is not to fall too far behind. So when an opportunity presents itself, you can actually try to grab it. And that's exactly what Dirty Lake and the boys have done. They kind of survived through that tough early game, not falling too far behind, and suddenly they got a couple fights that go their way. Suddenly they get an All Prime, they start to turn things around, and suddenly they're in control of the game and they never let go, and they simply like managed to pull the W at the end and kind of managed to prove something, that with Lobber they are undefeated.
That's a good point. Joe, what do you think about Flowstate and what happened to them within that game? Where do you think it started to go wrong?
Yeah, like Mookie mentioned, the other game was well executed. They even predicted the North invade on Chimera and where they pick up 3 kills early on. However, things started to get a little shaky mid to late game where it seemed like they were trying to make plays, knowing that they were ahead. However, all the lead was actually mainly on the Argus. See there on the scoreboard that Argus by far had the most kills and most damage on the team, with Jay kind of being just there, right? And it almost seemed like they really needed play around the Argus more than anything, but they were making a lot of side lane plays without the Argus, and when you don't have your main win condition there, that's where when you think you're ahead, you actually just make some really bad plays on the mid to late game side. So it was just kind of really shaky. They really need to play around the Argus a lot more, I feel like, but I don't think they were doing as good a job they could have right there.
I completely agree with you, Joe. So that does, like we said, put DLAB into our main event. It also sets up a very good and determining match between two of the better teams, in my opinion, with Roganid having to take on Flowstate for the final spot from the group. Before we get into that, we've got another one that will determine who is qualifying between the Chefs and a team that I should definitely know who they are, and I'm very upset with myself for not knowing, but hold on, I've got it, and I'm going to stall while I talk. It is Midnight Anthem, who we saw win the second game of it. That's going to be it for Moogie and Joey. I want to give these guys an opportunity to say goodbye and plug some of what they've got going on. Can we start with you, please, Moogie?
Well, thank you for having me. Of course, you can find me on Twitch and also like on YouTube under Mugiwawa. But more importantly, like if you're interested in getting better in the game, go check my website, predacademy.com, where I put all my guide and also like some tournament write-ups to all the good stuff about the competitive scene of Predecessor.
And Joey, why don't you plug what you got going on?
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. You can find me over on YouTube at JoyoShirley. And you can also find me on Twitter at JoyoShirley for more up-to-date stuff from me, or if you want to see dog pictures from time to time over there.
Perfect. So like we said, congratulations to DLAB for qualifying. We will be back in just a second with the Chefs taking on Midnight Anthem.